This episode of the Jesse T Show is brought to you by 46 and 2 Wealth Partners. This year, many people have lots of money questions. Finding the right information can be tough, and more importantly, finding someone that you like and have confidence in is even tougher. If you'd like to keep more of your money, and more importantly, if you'd like to stop trading time for money and live the life you deserve, contact 46 and 2 Wealth Partners today. Right now, Jesse T Show listeners will receive a free 15-minute phone call that will leave you with at least one idea on how to keep or make more money. Text promo code Jesse T Show to phone number 202-301-4503. Ryan, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, glad to be here.
Great to have you, man. It was destined to happen.
Yeah, man. I'm super excited. I mean, and just learning more about you and your story has been amazing as well, man.
Likewise, brother. Well, this thank you for saying that. And this show is going to be all about you and you sharing your journey, your story, what's going on in your world.
Right.
We connected. I think it was through LinkedIn. And, we just started kind of, kicking it off and hearing more about each other. And I was like, man, I'd love to have this guy come on the show. Incredible journey, an entrepreneur's journey. You grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Right.
You have a great story. I just wanted to kind of share that with a few people that haven't heard it. So just give a little context on kind of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my story is pretty interesting. Kind of goes back to high school, honestly. For me, my biggest dream was actually to go on and play professional football like my father. So he actually played running back for the Green Bay Packers. So my whole family kind of revolved. He was like the centerpiece, and everything revolved around sports and my dad, right? So, but also just to add to it, I had a cousin who actually played professional ball as well. So as you can tell, this was like, hey, Ryan, this is your way out. This is what you're doing, right?
Yes.
So he told me, back in high school, one thing that I needed to do was to perform. That was the one thing that I had to do.
Would he say this, or would he emulate this, or like how did he teach you that fact?
He would actually say it.
Yeah.
But he was the guy who, to tell you a funny story, he was the guy who would literally go in the backyard when me and my brother were learning how to play football. My brother was Pee Wee League, right?
Sure.
And here I am, maybe middle school.
Yep.
He would put on full pads with us.
Your dad?
All three of us. Yeah, right. And we would literally be hitting each other in the backyard.
Hard.
Yeah. So that was the father that I had.
Yeah. So he was a very much like in the trenches, roll up his sleeves, get dirty, show through example, but like expect a lot too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, I just love the days where he would go to the field and just take off full speed, and I watched my friends just be like, "Holy cow!"
Is it fast?
Yeah. I was like, "What?" But I don't know though. So he started trying to keep up with me later on in life, and
Were you faster?
Well, later on.
Yeah. What about in your primes? If you were to take your dad in his prime and you in your prime in terms of speed and strength, did either one of you have an edge?
Oh, I got him beat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably my ego.
Now, what most likely?
Yeah.
What positions were you playing?
I was a linebacker.
Okay.
I was a linebacker. So my biggest thing was, he told me I needed to perform, and he physically said that all the time, right? So I was that guy who was spending a lot of extra time, just staying around, sticking around after practice, putting in extra work. And for me, I wanted to go to that big school. I wanted to go to the Alabamas and the Auburns and those SEC, right. Which my brothers, I told him, he's living my dream now. But
where does he go to school?
The University of Arkansas.
Okay.
Yep.
So cool. Razorbacks.
Right. Yeah. Razorbacks. Yep. So basically, that kind of led me to the first kind of period of challenge in my life.
Okay.
All right. So that first challenge was, for me, I was going to these big schools and I was performing with all of these guys. And just to tell you a quick funny story, I remember standing at the top of the press box at a SEC school and looking down at a player who was hitting a dummy. And I'm just like, dude, I would destroy that dummy. I mean, it's easy, right? I go down there, and of course, I did destroy the dummy. But the thing is, he was about 6'5".
Oh, wow.
And here I am, 5'11". He was about 6'5", 250 pounds.
Yeah. And, a big human being.
Just
in terms of humans.
He looked like a mannequin in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
ripped and everything?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, cut like he was cut from, rock, basically.
Stone. Yeah.
So basically
So you were kind of in an uphill battle in a sense in your mind, but when you went out there, you outperformed this guy.
Yeah.
Do you think it was because a lot of times when people have genetics that are they're blessed with genetics. I mean, 6'5", 250 and ripped. That's absolutely blessed, especially if you're fast and all these different things.
Right.
Maybe is it possible? And I don't know his story, and I don't want to like make him seem not like he's a hard worker, but is it possible that he kind of relied on those gifts so much to where you get a guy that's 5'11", a little bit quote unquote undersized for the position, and you had to work harder, and you had this mindset that you did better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've run into that situation so many different times. Stats wise, I was fortunate enough to actually break a couple of high school records for the state. So tackles in a season, tackles in a career in 4 years, and also tackles in a single game.
Beautiful.
So I did
monster.
I did really well at 5'11", right?
Well, especially in high school, that's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like that high school, you could be 5'11". High school, and then as soon as you get to college, you start to see these bigger people. But once you get to the pros, you're seeing 6'10" like linemen that are like over 300 pounds, and they're pretty quick. Like they're not super,
They're athletic. Yeah, exactly. Right. Could probably go play another position if they were, a little smaller, right? But yeah, so from there, I was the guy who also had the stats to prove it. All right, so I did just that. I performed, and from there, I was honestly fortunate enough. At the time, I was thinking of myself as a failure almost, because I didn't get all those big scholarships that I wanted. I had one scholarship, and that scholarship was to the University of North Alabama, which actually happened to be the best thing that ever happened. Right?
How so?
Because for me, one of the biggest things is I just wanted to go. I felt like I belonged at that big school.
You felt like something pulling you there.
Yeah, I felt like something was really pulling me there, because another thing was stats and getting those accolades. I was like, dude, I'm doing this thing. I'm not hurt.
You wanted to go pro.
Yeah, I'm performing. And I'm doing exactly what my father said I had to do.
Beautiful.
Exactly that, and nothing short of that. Right. So that was really pulling me there. But my story kind of went on, and I'll tell you exactly why that happened to be the best thing. But basically, now I'm getting the other opportunity to continue my career in football. All right. I'm at the University of North Alabama, a very small Division I school in Florence, Alabama. All right. In the middle of nowhere, basically.
Pretty much nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really unique though, because it's surrounded by water. Okay. So it's kind of like almost an island. It's
kind of beautiful.
Yes, it really is. Didn't realize all that stuff till later on. My mind's clouded because I'm like, this is not the school where I want to go.
D1, bright lights. Right. The SEC, big teams.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't that. Right. So. Just to make a super long story short, about 3 years into playing football, things were just not lining up the way that I thought that they were going to line up.
What's an example?
Right. So for me, I was dealing with a couple of forces that I just couldn't shake. Politics and sports. We know how that's a real thing, right?
In life, it seems like.
And not even just in sports, but in life. That was a real thing that I was literally bumping my head up against every day.
Weren't seeing eye to eye. And
correct. Weren't seeing eye to eye. And things just, honestly, at that point, were just kind of at a standstill. And knowing me now, looking back, that's why I was like, okay, something's got to change. So after prayer, after being depressed and just down, just all of that, after also kind of just feeling stuck and where's the next step in my life, it kind of led me to actually considering leaving a scholarship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like quitting school altogether.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, or not even quitting school, but quitting football, which, as we know, for me mentally, I'm like, okay, Ryan.
Your whole identity's built on it.
Yeah. My entire identity. I've worked so hard. I have put in so much extra for this.
Your soul is embedded.
It really, really was. And also to feel like, you are doing exactly what you need to do and
purpose,
fall short.
your mission. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, it was tough. So even going back to high school, some of those coaches literally point blank told me, Ryan, we absolutely love what you can do. We see it all throughout you, right? But you're undersized. It was always a but.
It's always the but,
I'm like, how am I undersized? I can bench press more. I can run faster. I'm quicker. I got more tackles.
they want to see that height for
Yeah,
some reason. Like
right.
you need to be 6'2", 6'4". Like,
Exactly.
I got a buddy who was on this podcast before, Rennie Curran. I don't know if you've heard him before, but he's a big local business guy. But he's UGA Hall of Fame linebacker, undersized, same deal, like shorter in terms of football players, but super strong. Like squatting 500-600 pounds, bench pressing over 400 pounds, like super strong guy. And he always kind of had that underdog mentality. And he came from an immigrant family where his dad was a business owner of a local shoe repair store here in Georgia, and his dad's mentality was like work ethic, work hard, work hard, and that bled over to him. So for an undersized guy, and he went on to play in the pros for a while, and then he just had this mentality, kind of like you had, of like, I'm not undersized, I'll show you what I can do.
Exactly. And that was, I would literally stand up against any man toe to toe because of that mentality. So basically, after hearing that so many times, I'm like, gosh, like what do you mean? I went to Tennessee, for example, and we went in this room and they measured my hand size.
It's crazy.
I was like, this is why you guys can't win in football games. So
shout out to all the Vols fans.
Yeah. But, hey, man, it's all fun and games.
Isn't it crazy that they go so much in the science that, like, sometimes football is just the knowledge of the game and the knowledge of people. You know what I mean? It's knowing that the performance of this human being, it doesn't have to dictate, like, just because he's 2 inches shorter or his hand's like an inch shorter than we think it should be. Like, that's yes, there's a need for that to a degree, but then there's just the actual what's happening on the field.
Right, exactly. Because that football IQ, I mean, that's something like a lot of times you can't teach that. You can't teach if somebody, I mean, look at the Welkers of the world, Wes Welkers and all those guys. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Edelman.
Yeah, Edelman. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's walking proof, right? That you do not have to have the size.
And outworking everybody too. Like Edelman's he's probably in his like mid-30s almost, pretty close to it. And he's always putting stuff on social media. He looks like a Greek god. Like we talked about your buddy that was chiseled like a mannequin. Like these guys, the ones that put in that work ethic and then they develop that seasoning to where like you have guys, even like Aaron Rodgers right now in this season, he's killing it.
Right. And
you have, maybe he's a step slower. A lot of these players, it might be a step slower, but they've learned so much about the game. Like Tony Gonzalez played such a high level for so long and he's a tight end and, maybe he was a step slower, but he learned maybe, how to read things and how to use his body and how to like maybe step back when you just like these little micro things that he could elongate his career.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. And you have those natural instincts, and they're just literally grown over the years by your experience.
So what happened at the end of the 3 years? Did you make a decision to leave football, or?
So the first thing I was dealing with a lot of mental things. Yep. I didn't want to be seen as a failure. As we know, especially in my situation, most people who leave a scholarship is not by choice.
Right. There's a problem.
There's an issue. They screwed out. Yeah, they screwed up, or either flunked out. Right. And I did not want that behind my name. Yep. And that goes back to me, looking at and worrying about everyone else and what they think of me. Yep. So this kind of just it grounded me for a second. Like I really couldn't figure it out. I couldn't shake it, man. I would go back and I would just be depressed, and I just would sit in my room and it was heavy on my heart and my soul, man. But basically, I decided one day, hey, I need to go and talk to somebody about this. I need to, because I'm not getting anywhere just sitting here being depressed about it. So, of course, I couldn't talk to my father. That was the last thing I was going to do. So I went to my mom, and I told her how I was feeling. Yeah. My pitch to her was, Mom, it's extremely hard to, one, maintain focus while traveling, with 60 plus different other athletes. Yeah. And maintain focus in terms of schooling, grades.
The right way to do it, especially with a mom. They want your education first and foremost.
Yeah, exactly, right? I guess maybe I'm a natural salesperson.
Right, yeah, it sounds like it.
But basically...
you played to her feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
She wants you to graduate and get a degree.
Right. Knowing I probably didn't care too much about it.
Right.
But basically, that was one of the pitches. Also, I just felt like my time and energy could be used towards doing something that I potentially could be doing for the rest of my life.
Did you have feelings like, I know you have this internal belief about yourself, but did you feel like at some point you realized you may not be able to get to the league pro-wise and or like perform in the league? Did that kind of settle in a little bit too, or that had nothing to do with it?
No, it settled in.
Okay.
It settled in because I was like, one thing's for sure.
Yep.
You can't make it to the league if you're always hurt.
Yep.
Another thing,
that's true.
For sure, you can't make the club in a tub. That's what my dad always said, right? So
that's smart.
So the other piece of it was that, not playing, that's another way for you not to make it.
Yep.
So if I had those obstacles that I couldn't really shake, I couldn't really.
How was your performance on the field during the 3 years?
My performance, now here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Practice was always great.
Yep.
I can
crushed it in practice.
I can absolutely say that I didn't have many bad practices.
Yeah.
I don't even really recall much of, probably less than like 5.
Yeah.
So
in 3 years.
Yeah, because I was a very productive player.
Yeah.
That's why I did get those state, some of those state records and. So, one thing's for sure is when I showed up every day. It was the same thing. It wasn't any fluke Ryan where, he did this one day, and he didn't do it the next day. That was not
So
me.
practice, you were good, but was there something that switched when you went into the game?
I didn't really get in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I just did it.
They didn't put you in?
I couldn't figure it out.
Was it the coaches not putting you in, or was it when you got in, like you weren't doing what you wanted to do? Like, what was it?
It was the coaches not putting me in.
Really?
Yeah.
But you were crushing it in practice.
Yeah.
Doing really well.
Yeah.
And they just, for some reason, were there other linebackers on the team that were the prototypical taller or something like, was that what it was?
There were some.
Yeah.
There were some that came from JUCO and stuff like that, had a year or two left coming in. But yeah, and then but honestly, I know now that it worked out. It was the best thing that ever happened. Because I wouldn't change any of it, right?
Exactly. Like you learn from it, it teaches you, it molds you, and it puts you in a position of life where you are now. So you went from this work ethic mindset from a dad who played, at high level. You played at a high level, and you kind of, got to where you were. But then also all those attributes were combined with the fact that you grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Right.
And before we jumped on, you mentioned that you have 5 or 6 people that are really imperative in your life, from uncles, grandfather to dad, that are entrepreneurs.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that experience and dynamic, because that's really not the norm for most people. Most people grow up in a worker bee family, like 9 to 5. They work in corporate jobs, or they're working in factories, industries, whatever.
That was actually a battle that I went through a long time.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I went to basically. I'm going to tell you the story right up until that. Right.
Yeah.
So I went to go speak with my mom, and I told her about how I was feeling, and she said, "You've absolutely lost your damn mind." And at the
You didn't
time,
sell that one the right way.
Yeah, right. So maybe I wasn't a salesman.
Right. You live and you learn. Yeah.
Right. But basically, after that, I said, okay, she just didn't listen to what I had to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to my grandfather. And
just for context, he's an entrepreneur.
Yes, he's an entrepreneur of, 60 plus years. So he's been knee deep in the game. So I went to him, and of course, we know how our grandparents are sometimes. He told me in a nice way, but it meant, no, you've lost your mind too.
What were you trying to ask them or get insight on?
So I was trying to honestly convince them of why it may be a good idea for me to leave the scholarship.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that conversation's still going on.
Yeah. So basically, at this time, I'm still on scholarship.
And at this point, you haven't gone to your dad.
Absolutely not. I hadn't even thought about it.
Right. You know.
I have,
that's a hard
look, if I'm talking to my mom and he walks, if I can hear him walking down the hallway, I'm just like, hey, shut up, Mom. I didn't say that to her, but I'm just like, man. So,
change topic.
Right. So then I started coming out of some other conversation from the left brain, right?
Yeah.
But from there, I say, okay, well, I didn't get the answer that I needed. So maybe I need to reach out to someone else who I don't know to get an unbiased opinion.
Right.
I need to figure out.
Respect.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Just someone else.
Yeah. Just anyone else.
Anyone else, right? So
just get the answer you're looking for.
Yeah. Anyone else is willing to say, yeah, Ryan. So basically,
who's that person for you?
Is a man named Dr. Bora.
Okay.
Santanu Bora, and he has been, oh my God, such a staple in my life up until this point. But I went back to school, and here I am. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I didn't go back to school. I went home for Christmas break.
Okay.
All right. So at this moment,
junior year or senior year? Junior year?
Junior.
Okay.
So at this moment, basically, I am at home. I got time, and I'm like, okay, Ryan, what else can you mix up or create or something to convince someone else that this may be a good idea, so you're not looking crazy, right?
Yep.
So in the midst of that, here I am. I'm like, okay, well, there's a guy on Instagram who is basically taking apart shoes.
Yeah.
So he's taking these shoes apart, he's cutting them up, and he is replacing them with like exotic leather, so lamb skin and ostrich and snake skin and python, and he's creating his own shoe basically. So I'm like, maybe this is something I can do. I don't know. Maybe
you actually were thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was. That led me to trying it, right? So
you actually tried it.
With the small time I have, at home, and I remember the time of me cutting up an Air Force One, to be exact. It was an old shoe that was sitting there, and I'm sitting. My brother's playing a video game. I'm cutting the shoe up, and he's looking at me like I'm crazy. My mom walks in the room. She's like, then walks away. And my dad walks in, and he's making the same face.
Everybody's
like,
coming in to see you.
What is this guy doing? So I'm sure they thought it was some type of project or something, or maybe I was bored. But basically, from there, it's like, oh man, this is something I can possibly do. I'm very hands-on. I'm very artistic. I'm very creative. Let me go at it, right? So from there, I decided, okay, I need to do some research, and I went to a local leather shop called Tandy Leather, and basically from there, I walked in. Funny story. I stood in there. The chimes on the door rang, and everyone's just starts to look at me. And here I am, a black kid in a leather shop, and they're like, of course I felt out of place, right? So from there, I'm just like, okay. So eventually, I just told them. I said, well, here's what here's my idea. So to jump back just a second, before I got to that leather shop, I said to myself, okay, Ryan, if you really want to do this, what is it going to take? I realized that I didn't have the resources to go learn how to craft shoes. I was in Alabama.
It's an art,
Yeah, it's an art. I would have to take time, I'd have to leave the state. I also didn't have the financial resources either. Here I am.
So practicality-wise, it was starting to slip away.
Exactly. But in the midst of that, I said, well, what's something that I can do potentially? That's maybe a smaller project, something I can do to the shoe. I didn't want to draw on a shoe. So eventually what I thought about was, well, shoelaces have been the same for a long time. Why can't I make a really cool shoelace that looks good on both sides, maybe use an exotic leather like Italian lambskin, and let people, basically give the people the option to style the shoe
how they want
to, and potentially increase the value for stores, right? So I had that idea. That's what led me to go into Tandy Leather. So after that, I'm in the store, and I told them my idea, and we went to the back immediately. And I started cutting leather, skiving leather, burning leather.
Wow.
Doing the whole nine.
Learning
right then and there. From there, I was definitely convinced enough to invest in myself. So I bought my first lambskin hive from there. I spent hundreds of dollars on it.
Really?
And it was about all I had at the time. But I wanted to invest in myself. So I did that. And I took this huge tube of lambskin home, right? And now my parents are like, what is going on? So here I am. I'm working together. I'm putting stuff together. My father owns a commercial fencing company in Birmingham. So I'm in the backyard. I'm getting his tools, his saws, everything. I'm like trying to figure out, how can I create this? How can I make this? So it took me about 2 hours to make my first string. Not even with tips or anything, a string. And it was so fat and thick that it couldn't even fit
in the shoe.
It was just, but I saw the vision. I was like, wow, this could really be something. This is golden. This would literally take.
You tapped into something that was just like really kind of, you knew.
It was something so different. So basically from there, I realized, hey, it was going to take me too long. I crafted the equipment as best as I could to try to smooth the process out and make it more efficient. So I realized that, hey, Ryan, you got to go figure something else out. So I got in contact with some of the largest leather manufacturers in the country, and that's when I really went ahead and made videos to send it to them to figure out how can we potentially do this. So they told me it would be a couple of weeks, and after that I actually went on to school. All right, so sent that off. Now I'm back at school. Now I'm like, okay, I don't really know anything about business. I still haven't realized, my dad, obviously looking from the outside in, looking at my father being a business owner is different than me being his son. I don't think, he played in the NFL. I don't think anything about that.
Yeah.
I also don't think anything about him being a business owner.
Yeah, because he's your dad.
Yeah, because he's my dad.
And like outside looking in, people would think that way, but it's your dad, and that's how you look at your dad. Like my kids are the same way. Like with my business and my podcast, every time they actually see my logo for my podcast, because it's on YouTube and I sign in under the Jesse T show, they're like, Dad, turn it. Like they don't even care. You don't even care. It's like,
right.
And I'm just this little local podcaster guy. Like they don't give a shit.
Right. Exactly. So that's kind of how I was, right? But from there, I decided, hey, I need to talk to somebody else and get an unbiased opinion because I'm still stuck.
Yep.
What I did was I went online to the university website and I called the 7 most important people that I can find in the College of Business.
Smart.
From the dean on down.
Yeah.
About 5 of those people answered the phone and they all told me about Dr. Bora.
That's how you led to Dr. Bora.
That's how I got to Dr. Bora. So I called Dr. Bora and they gave me his information and basically he's like, okay, where are you? Let's talk. So I always talk about that's the kind of person he is.
Isn't it interesting that people that are successful, you would think that they don't have time because they're doing important things, but the successful people that are good people, they make the time. Right?
Right.
Like you're calling out of the blue. Like this
he
is
doesn't know
call.
me from a can of paint.
Right. And he's like, let's talk.
Yeah. So the next day, exactly.
Yeah.
The next day we were talking, and here I am sitting across the table like we are now, and I am talking to Dr. Bora, telling him my entire life story from the top to bottom.
That's great.
And it's so funny because I'm thinking about, like, I'm having conversations with myself while I'm telling my story. I was like, why does he care? He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Ryan, you're talking too much, right? But after that conversation, he told me 2 different things. He said, Ryan, it seems like you have a really cool idea.
Yep.
How serious are you about it? I said, I'm 120% in.
Yep.
He said, okay, Ryan, let's meet about it during the summer. All right? I said,
beautiful.
Let's do it. Yep. Perfect. So the next
end
thing
of your junior year, basically? That's what he's looking forward to?
Correct.
Okay.
So the next thing he said was, it seems like you already have your answer.
Yep.
I walked away from this meeting pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely pissed.
He was right.
Well, I was pissed because I wanted him to tell me yes or no, you're crazy or not.
Right.
Not because I didn't want him to.
You always knew. You knew.
I guess I did.
You knew. And it's like Gary Vee always talks about your parents want something for you, your spouse wants something for you, your friends want something for you, but sometimes that's not what you want for yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to have the courage and the fearlessness to go against those that love you the most, because a lot of times, unfortunately, outside of your experience, which is unique, a lot of times if you're trying to become an entrepreneur and you're taking advice from people who haven't been, they're not going to give you the best advice because they just can't advise you on it.
Yeah.
So that innate knowing and feeling creates turmoil. It creates, sometimes depression. It creates, you think about self-worth and showing up in the world, and then finally it pissed you off because he was right in a sense, and like you knew the answer. You knew that you couldn't. You knew what you wanted to do.
I just hadn't accepted it in my head. So
you get to that point, and then where do you go from there?
From there,
you go back to mom and dad and say, this is what I'm doing?
No, still wasn't ready.
Okay.
I still hadn't settled in.
Okay.
I decided to go to the next person in line.
So you were looking for something that no one was going to tell you.
Yeah. So his name was Dr. Thomas Calhoun.
Okay.
Still near and dear to me today. All right. So I sat down with him, told him the exact same story, and pause. He said the exact same thing. He said, Ryan, it seems like you already have your answer. And if this wasn't God just talking to me, like, I was just like, oh, God. Like, I mean, my heart fell out of my chest at that point because I was like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do it. So I kind of built up enough courage after about 5 months
to
talk to my dad.
Replaying it.
Right. Right. So then I finally decided to talk to my father. And that conversation was a short and sweet conversation. And it happened to be completely unexpected. But I told him everything. And he said, Ryan, I want you to really think about all the work and the effort that you've put into this.
Yeah.
And I said, I've definitely thought about it. And his closing remarks were, Ryan, I support you 100% in whatever you're doing.
That just gave me chills because we were talking about a buddy of mine that's making a life-altering decision, and also how it pertained to you and making like face everything and rise, or false evidence appearing real.
Yep.
And whenever you have this important conversation you have to have with somebody, you start playing out outcomes that 9 times out of 10 don't even come true. And you were concerned this whole time that your dad was going to shut you right down and say, get back to work, get back, because that's what he's been saying his whole life.
Yep.
And he embraced you with love, and he's like, listen, he vetted you out. He's like, are you sure?
He did.
You said yes, and then you know what? He met you with love. And that's like the narrative for most people. Like if you get something important to say, and I wish everybody in the world can hear this, if someone truly loves you and has your best interest at heart, and they know that you're making a good decision for yourself, they'll usually back you up on it.
Yep. That's true.
Beautiful.
Makes me want to cry, man.
Yeah,
just thinking about it every time. I was like, yeah. So it took so much. I mean, we're talking about almost a year.
Yeah.
You know, of holding
all that
this
wasted feeling too.
Yeah.
Now you're really
bottling
pissed.
it in. Yeah. So now the next thing I do is I go to spring training, and I still haven't really kind of told my mom and everything, but I go to spring training, I do that, and now it's time.
Yep.
You know, so the cat's out of the bag. I finally go and sit down with the coach, talk to the coach, let him know my decision, and I walk away from football. Completely walked away. So
how'd you feel about it? Did you feel empowered or scared or both?
Oh my goodness, I had it felt like a weight was just lifted up.
Okay, so you felt freer.
Yeah. I felt like the scholarship burdened me, honestly.
Damn.
It held me down.
So did you lose the scholarship altogether, like the last year? So you just paid the last year?
Well, actually going into it, I actually probably had about a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I graduated in 4.5 years.
Yep.
But basically, yeah. Now I am no scholarship. I have responsibilities for the first time. I don't have a brand spanking new apartment with brand new, in a brand new building complex. Right. So I actually, decided to move in with my grandfather.
Smart.
Okay. So
and the wisdom you probably gained by doing that.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. So such a loving man. It goes back to the same thing. I wasn't asking him business questions because he's my grandfather.
Right.
It's like, okay, yeah, he owns a business. That's all I thought about.
But just being around someone with that experience, there's always nuggets.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even life nuggets.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of what happened next. And just to give you a story, my mom, like I said, when I realized it, and I didn't realize this until years later, my father, my uncle, my grandfather, and all 5 of his brothers own local businesses, all separate businesses.
Incredible.
Didn't really pay attention to it growing up, but my mom was the outlier.
Yeah.
She was the nurse, the health nut, and she took care of everybody. Just such a wonderful, loving mom, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But we always got a ton of business jokes about her because she tries to run everything.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
But she doesn't have any business.
Right.
But, oh my God, I love her to death. But basically, from there, I was dealing with these emotions of what to do next.
Yep.
I have no idea what that's going to look like. I have an idea for a business, but it's just an idea, right? So for me, it's like, okay, well, the only thing that I can revert back to is I need to be preparing to get a master's. I need to be preparing to get an internship at a corporate, in a corporate setting. I need to get benefits.
Yeah. You're thinking like an employee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And from there, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that because I don't know where else to go. I'm going to do that, right? So now I'm battling, okay, well, I'm working towards getting that, all right? So months later, I'm sitting down. I had actually just crossed a fraternity. So I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi, all right? So here I am after class sitting in the cafeteria, and this is when things start to really line up for me. And like I said, taking a leap of faith, man, it's such a powerful thing.
For sure.
There's been several times where I reflect back on these moments, and I'm like, trust God.
Yeah.
Go.
Yep.
Go.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? You bump your head and learn.
Live your best life.
Yeah, exactly. Or you bump your head and learn from it, right? And live your best life, right? So from there, I'm sitting in the cafe.
Yep.
All right, and I have on a purple jacket, gold boots on that are spray painted, a bald head, no eyebrows, camo hat flipped up to the top, and camo pants.
Yeah.
So a girl comes to me and she's like, "Hey, are you going to the career fair?" I had planned on going to this career fair like a month before.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about it. I'm like, do I even look like I'm going to the career fair? There's absolutely not. Right. So she walks away, and I think to myself, I'm like, what's the worst that can really happen?
Yep.
So I decided to go, right? I ended up being interviewed on the spot, all right? And basically that was a great conversation piece because I was dressed like this.
Yeah, you were the outlier.
Yeah. Which, that is me my whole life. So I'm the outlier, right? And the next day, they pulled me back in for another interview. So I ended up getting my first internship like literally weeks later.
Right away, because you went on blind faith. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
Yep.
So after that, basically, they're going to pay me $100 a month just for gas. It's right around the corner. Literally, I could walk there from where my grandfather lives.
Yep.
So they're going to pay me for gas, and that's it. So I start that internship. Now, obviously, I got responsibilities. But basically what happens, my mom calls me one day, a couple of weeks or months into the internship. She calls me, and she's crying on the phone. And I'm just like, I'm walking from class that day, and I'm like, "Mom, are you okay?" Like, I stopped dead in my tracks. I'm like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Have you looked at your tuition?" And I promise you, my heart sinks. I'm just like, I start stuttering and everything. I'm like, "No, I haven't," because I've been pampered for 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I haven't looked at it, Mom, and I just paused because I don't know what else to say. Well, she proceeds to continue sobbing.
Yeah.
She's like, "It's paid for."
Wow.
And I'm just like,
wow.
I'm puzzled. I have no clue. I'm like,
you were expecting to have it come out of pocket, and you got hit with the flip side, like it's taken care of.
Yeah. So the company I had my internship with actually decided to pay my scholarship.
How beautiful.
And my tuition.
How beautiful.
How beautiful, right? Never would have guessed. And that's when I realized like the power in this. So from there, moving along, I basically, here I am. I'm back on basically like a scholarship. Everything's covered. And I'm working on my first company, which is called LuxeBrand.
Yep.
And we're manufacturing luxury leather
What year
shoelaces.
is this right about?
About 2015.
Okay.
So luxury leather shoelaces are made from exotic leathers, in most cases Italian lambskin, but some cases we'll do, suede, python skin, or either
Mix it up.
Even patent leather, right? So something super different. But I'm seeing the growth, and from there I'm still like, I still want to fulfill like my mom's dream, of going to get a corporate job.
Yep.
Even my grandfather, because it's like, they've been through the ups and downs.
They know.
And my mom has been surrounded by it.
Yep.
So she knows what it feels like.
The good and the bad. And she probably wanted you. A lot of people have your best interest at heart so much they don't want you to feel pain.
That is exactly what it was.
But you need to feel pain to grow.
Yeah. Right. We know that's hard to tell moms, right?
Muscles, right? Like you build muscles. It's like you have to rip it to rebuild it, rip it to rebuild it. Like that's how life is.
Exactly. So realizing, I think that she kind of wanted me to, just be safe. And I understand that, So from there, I got another opportunity to come to Atlanta, actually.
Nice.
So for the summer.
Got here.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no, it was about maybe 3 or 4 years.
A little further before you actually came here.
Right. Okay. So right when I was getting ready to graduate. But basically from there, I accepted that internship. I came here for 2 months, and here I am. It's almost kind of the same story where I am, during football, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. There was times where I would freaking sleep with my doggone workout clothes on.
Just to be ready for the morning.
Because I didn't want to.
I've done stuff like that before.
Yeah, exactly. Because I did not want to be the person that's making everybody run.
No, that's the worst.
Right.
I was that guy. We used to do this thing called four corners back in high school, and it was like maybe 25, 30 yards apart, and it was just sprints to each one, and it just it was awful. And I've caused that a few times, and I hated it.
Right. It's a bad day altogether, right?
Yeah. Two a days in the summer. Ugh.
Right. So
terrible.
Right. So it. So basically, my story was from there, waking up at 4 and getting the workouts maybe 4 to 5. Having an 8 o'clock class.
Yeah.
You're
on a CEO schedule.
Exactly.
Like you're the tightness and you're doing the fitness and the work and the business. Like you're really like compacted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then from there, maybe around 12 o'clock, I'm out of my classes for the day. But then I got a freaking rush. I mean, I got to literally, sometimes I had to walk out of the calf with food in my hands and my mouth. Yeah. So I'm trying to make it to football meetings.
Yeah.
Then we go meet for an hour. Then we go out in the hot sun and practice.
Yep.
And then after that, we are, it's 5 or 6 o'clock. And we may have another meeting. We may have to, talk about a few other little small details for game planning.
Yep.
And then the next thing you know, I got to study for a big test. It's hard. There's no time.
And then you want to have a social life, maybe.
Yeah.
Date girls or go party.
Exactly.
Like there's some little bit of social life you try to carve in there. So there's like no time.
There's no time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worse than a full-time job.
Yeah.
So, and you're right. CEO schedule. Exactly. So from there, now it's relatable here in Atlanta.
Yep.
Because I'm literally in Conyers and I got to get to Brookhaven. and now I'm waking up at 4 in the morning
You gotta
still.
move closer.
Yep, exactly. I'm 4 in the morning. I'm staying with my uncle and here I am just struggling to get there. So I get there, I get into the parking deck, I go to sleep in the car for an hour.
Yep.
And that was just to beat traffic.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's a typical Atlanta story. Now that I know better.
Yeah.
But
Atlanta traffic up until COVID was a nightmare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So from there, now I am going into work, maybe 8 or 9, and I am sitting at the office like I have ants in my pants.
Wow.
Every second of the day. Why am I here? What am I doing?
Just not happy.
Yeah, just not happy. And then I'm getting off at 5 o'clock and literally busted my tail to get to the stores here in Atlanta to try to put my shoelaces in stores.
Yep.
And so I was making it some days and some days I weren't, But I ended up that summer landing my first couple of stores.
Nice.
So it worked.
Starting to see some of the proof in the effort and building and selling essentially.
Yeah, and here's the tipping point for me. I'm in this internship, I'm getting paid $12 an hour.
Yep.
And I don't have any kind of freedom to do anything else. I had trained a friend of mine, Nathan Martin, on how to sell my product. And this is another company. This is not even shoelaces.
Okay.
Right? So we're going to get into that. But I've trained him how to go and talk about some marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Well, he's out here at the bar having fun.
Yeah.
And he's getting clients for the company.
Right.
I'm like,
why can't I do that?
why am I not, he's working like, why am I here?
He's living life, but he's also working.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I do. I built a lifestyle business where I can enjoy my life, but I'm working too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's out, on our behalf, he's working for me and this is just a friendship.
Yeah.
This is like, it's not official employee type stuff, but it's just a friendship. And he's, handing over sales, right? But basically I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm literally...
The model needed a change.
Exactly. Yeah. So from there, that was it. That's when I said, Ryan, you're going to take these next, couple of years and you're going to go all in.
Fully letting go, just and diving in.
You've done it before.
Yep.
We're going to really change this. We're going to shift that energy again and focus.
Beautiful.
And I did that. And when I did that, I was fortunate enough to get some big things, or to manifest some big things for my business.
Yep.
So we were actually really fortunate. We were able to actually land on Good Morning America, NFL Network, Foot Locker stores, and over 40 plus different athletes and celebrities. So it's been a journey, man, and I'm just super thankful because honestly, it would have never happened this way if I decided to stay on that scholarship.
If you stayed in fear, if you were living somebody else's expectation of you, it's a huge narrative for a lot of entrepreneurs and executives, types of people that listen to this podcast, is making that leap and belief in themselves and not really caring what other people think. This is what we talked about before jumping on, and like me sharing my journey and my story and things I've been through, good, bad, and indifferent, has freed me. It's made me free, and if you can get past that,
it's powerful.
It's like Will Smith says, your best life is on the other side of fear, right? And there's so much power in that. And so, how are you serving the market now? Like, what are you doing, and like how do you promote your brand, and like what kind of things are you selling and marketing?
Right. So it's a couple of things for LuxeBrand, and I'm gonna tell you the transition as well. But LuxeBrand, basically, we're working right now on one of the biggest things we want to do for this upcoming year is we want to obviously get another big placement on national TV. Okay. That is just an amazing experience. Definitely want to land that again. But also we want to bring bring awareness to just different social, illnesses and also social causes.
Sure.
Right. So one of the big things, obviously, is October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. My grandmother, she passed of breast cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah. But it's near and dear to me, So, but we want to make sure that we are working with different people or different figureheads to kind of promote that and bring awareness because they have the platforms. And, also, obviously, there's cases where we donate proceeds back to help with research and development.
Beautiful.
So, basically from there, what happened next, right? After that, being in a small area, Florence, Alabama, there's what usually happens in those kind of areas is there's a lot of chatter, all right? So People talk, right? People talk. And this kind of led me into my next venture, which is basically BizBuzz. Okay. So at BizBuzz, we provide integrated marketing automation software for small businesses. Okay. So what this looks like is we give them a one-stop shop to manage their listings, their reputation, their social, their advertising,
the buzz about their business,
and their website, all in one place.
Love it.
Right. So now with so many different options out there, thousands of softwares, they get one suite to do all of that.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So if I'm a business owner and I want to solve those problems, like how does that kind of, it puts it all in one place, but what are some of the things, the tasks that it's taking care of for me, and or like how does it help with branding and all that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a firm believer in people, process, and platform. I think those are the key ingredients to building a very powerful or successful business. Okay. And it kind of works like this. The right people, those A players, they drive leads, they help build the company, right? But they also follow a proven process.
Sure.
All right. And the process is obviously a set of repeatable tasks that obviously can be implemented by anyone. Okay. And then they use a platform to do that at scale. So BizBuzz, the whole idea behind that is I wanted to basically make sure that you not only had the platform or the tools that you could actually go in and use to manage those different areas of marketing, right? To manage your reviews, to ask for reviews, to manage your customers, to schedule posts to all social media channels, to build your website and also get those analytics and do all of that from one place. But I also wanted to give them the proven process of how that works together.
Sure.
So process and platform, I wanted to combine those. So basically at the time, I had a lot of local businesses reaching out to me. Here I am, maybe 23, 24 years old, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I remember some of my conversations with those guys who've been in business for 30 years and sometimes 40 years was, here I am going into this meeting and I'm just like, well, this is what I'm doing. Not confident at all. And they're like mind blown. They're like, what? I've been in business this long. I've never thought about this. And I realized that is why I was having success. Because I was literally untethered. I wasn't doing things the normal way.
No preconceived notions.
Exactly.
No negative feelings. You were just moving.
I was just moving. And that is where I realized, like, oh my goodness, I can really help local businesses. There's an opportunity, and I loved it. So that's when I realized, wow, my dad, my uncle, my grandfather, and all 5 of his brothers, that's where the love came from. Because I watched them growing up.
What are the businesses, when do I come to you for help as a business owner?
So mainly when you have product market fit, all right? So you have some wins under your belt and you're growing. You're ready to grow. You're ready. You have a lot of moving pieces and you need to really focus on working outside of your business or on your business instead of in your business.
Got it.
Okay. So in that case, what usually happens and what that looks like is we obviously sit down and we do a power hour, which is what I do with all of my clients.
Beautiful.
And that power hour, what I've done is I've created this book. So I'm actually launching this book at the end of this month, in October.
What are you calling it?
The Digital Playbook.
Okay.
So Secrets to Building Repeatable Revenue Through Digital Marketing.
eBook or?
Both.
Okay.
eBook and paperback.
Beautiful.
The significance of this book is that I've taken or brain dumped all of the things, or all of my wins, all of my clients' wins, and also some of my mentors' wins into this book.
Nice.
So we talk about the 6 phases of building repeatable revenue through digital marketing.
Okay.
So we go through your goals, right? We work on your plumbing and how to set up those analytics. It's a workbook, basically. Yeah. We also work on, we show our exact process to, quantify those goals. Then also going into, building that content, how to create 1-minute videos that resonate, that follow the why, how, and what to get customers to know, like, and trust you, right? Yep. So we also teach you how to build authority, right? So that, it's super simple. It's kind of like, what you're doing and also what I'm attempting to do with my brother, right?
Right.
But it's something that I've done for my business the whole time, and that is literally finding, defining what your mission is and your why, and finding other people who are those experts in those industries, having conversations with them, creating content with them, and what happens in the end
leveraging partnerships.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So from there, we're going to teach you how to narrow down that targeting. All right. And once you understand that targeting, how those targets work together in those audiences, we can teach you how to boost your post to your audiences for $1 a day.
That's incredible.
And expound upon that. So once you figure out what's really working for you, right, and where you need to cut fat, then you can optimize and amplify that even more. So that's our process. That's what we do for all of our clients. All right.
Incredible.
And that's the process, but we also give them platforms so that they can know they know exactly what's working, what's not working, where every ounce of additional spend can be utilized.
Super important, especially as a business owner. You got to know where all the pennies are.
Absolutely.
Mind your pennies, the dollars take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
So when you're not building businesses and you're not chasing after those things, what are some of the things that you work on to keep yourself on the top of your game, like in terms of self-care, from health and wellness to...
that's important.
It's big. As an entrepreneur, you have to be mentally and physically fit. Yep. It's my belief.
Absolutely.
And you want to be around those people too. They're inspiring, they're motivating. What are some of the things you do for self-care, health and wellness, spirituality? Like, what are the things that help you thrive in your business? Yeah.
So one of the things that I've created is a topic wheel. Okay. And in this topic wheel, I talk about it in the book as well, but in this topic wheel, it is comprised of 3 personal topics and 3 professional. Okay. So for mine, I have generational wealth, entrepreneurship, digital marketing. I have sports and entertainment, and also finding your zen, finding your balance in life. It. So that is important to me, right? So I don't care what you do, how successful you are. If you aren't living a holistic life, and if you aren't eating well, eating right, if you aren't taking care of your body, if you aren't exercising, if you aren't being mindful of yourself and also others around you and respectful and encouraging. Yep. Why do you exist?
It's all about living a life well lived. And there's this philosophy that I've come upon years ago called, it's a Stoic philosophy. So the ancient Greeks and Romans had this philosophy called Stoicism. It was like a belief system, but it was inside the belief system was memento mori. Memento mori means know that you're mortal, know that you must die, but let that be the motivation to live life well. Yeah. To show up in life the right way, to treat your body right, to treat others right, to live a life well lived, because these businesses that we're creating, they should be designed to serve us in our quality of life. Serve other people and help people and leave a mark and legacy wealth and leave.
Bring someone else up.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is you have 3 types of people in your life. You have people that are ahead of where you want to be, like the doctors that you mentioned, and they are there to help you, give you their experience and wisdom. And then you have people who are kind of right where you are, and you can kind of compare and trade like battle wounds and best practices and like stuff that you're going through together and kind of have that camaraderie. And then you have the people that are coming up below you that are like, you can mentor all that information you're getting. So it's just this transfer of information and knowledge that just leaves the world a little bit of a better place.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it goes back to, just having that balance. So some of the things that I actually do, when I get up in the morning, I really want to practice mindfulness. Yes. I really want to make sure that I'm being thankful. I say a prayer.
Gratitude's huge.
Yeah, exactly. I will give gratitude. So that could be chanting a mantra for others, but I really make sure I sit still for a second. After that, I get up, I make sure I eat a good breakfast. Yep. Okay, so that's important as well. It's all about fueling your body. Yes. Just like anything else. You dump money.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yep. Exactly. Garbage in, garbage out, right? Yep. So from there, I go on about my day. I go into some morning meetings typically. During lunchtime, obviously at that time, I try to get away from business completely. I try to make sure that I'm doing something completely unrelated. Mental, right. Because I found that helps me be very efficient. Yeah. So that pause in that day allows me to think about other things that are important. All
Beautiful.
right. So from there, I go back into other meetings. So whether that's client meetings or whether that is meeting with my team, and then after that, I usually am working out or at the gym about 5 or 6. Because of the pandemic, that my whole workout regimen has been great.
Yeah.
It has been the exact opposite. It has been great.
Has it
Phenomenal. Been? Yeah. My brother came into town because they shut down schools for a good period of time. And those 2 months he was in town, we worked.
Got after it.
We worked.
Beautiful.
And that just stuck with me. So
there's something to say about fueling your body and fueling your mind and like how you can operate better in the world and just feeling better and just like
I feel phenomenal.
It's incredible, and I relate 150 million%. But I'm excited to kick off this conversation and get you in front of some people and plug into each other and see how our relationship blossoms from here, man. So
Thanks.
It's been a pleasure. Okay. But he's the amazing, mighty, and powerful Ryan Mason. I'm Jesse T. Be sure to catch us on next week's episode of The Jesse T Show.